All right, everybody, welcome in. This is Your Fielder's Choice, Week 17. This is our NFL stream. My name is Adam, also known as at YFCV12, and I'm joined by at Mike Miz 23. Mike, welcome in, man. I know we were talking a little bit. Winter's finally here in Texas, so we're not down in the 30s. That's why I gotta cover up the goods here, man. It's good to see you. I know you're expecting some snow this week, but we want to get hot in NFL, man. I want to bring you in and ask you how you've been, brother. It's been a long time no see.
Yeah, man, all good. Crazy busy, a million things going on, but season's winding down, which sucks. But we still got a couple weeks left and playoffs too, so it's all good, man.
Yeah, brother. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, we got some good implications for some playoff scenarios for the NFL. We're battling COVID. I'm not sure what variant we're on this week, but obviously we're, all sports that they're trying to make it through, man. We're in the new year. Happy New Year to everyone at the YFC family. Welcome to 2022, and we're looking for a good one, a nice profitable year. And we're going to start that with some NFL Week 17. We are going to be talking a couple of different sections. If you follow with us on the right-hand column, you'll see we're going to go through cash, GPP, our top plays, and then we're going to come back into some prop bets with PrizePicks, maybe some Vegas bets, and then, of course, close you guys out to have plenty of time to go in and make your own lineups and ask questions. Feel free to jump into our Discord as well. If you're not a premium member, I don't know what you're doing with your life, but you gotta jump in, and we do have a general chat where you can ask questions, and there are also premium chats as well where you can have access to our coaches and everything. This is my 3-year-old. He might want to join us for some cameos and everything like that. He's just popping in watching some Spider-Man, but we want to talk some NFL. So we're going to start out with some cash plays. If you go to yourfielderschoice.com, you'll be able to check out our cheat sheets, which are essential. If you look at the top row right below the header, you'll see football, basketball, hockey, esports, tennis, and baseball. We tend to bring in these cheat sheets so that you're going to have plenty of an opportunity to see ownership plays, projected points, Vegas totals, differentials and pricing on DraftKings and FanDuel, which are the two big DFS sites. But we're going to use this kind of as a guide today. In cash, we're going to go position by position. We're going to bring it back with Miz, given some of his great GPP calls. And feel free, Miz, obviously, to jump in as well to make sure if you have anything in regards to cash plays and stuff like that. So I do want to start out with the quarterback position. We're going to go ahead and jump in right away. And I do want to mention, obviously, with the quarterback position in cash, there's going to be a lot of ownership directed to certain players because of whether their floor or just because of their price. And I think that my number one play is definitely going to be down there against the Houston Texans and Trey Lance today, obviously for the 49ers getting the start with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's hurt, so Trey Lance is going to get time to shine and be part of the NFL season, to where he's going to come in kind of as a dual threat quarterback. He's a guy that I've followed quite a bit in regards to college. I've played fantasy dynasty football as well. So we do these drafts where you're going to have, developmental players brought in from college. And he's a guy that I've had on my team for quite a while. I'm excited to see him play today. Dual threat quarterback playing against the Houston Texans defense that can absolutely be shredded. Mike, do you know anything about Trey Lance? Have you followed him at all? I mean, I'm pretty excited about this play today. What do you think about him?
He used to carve up. I went to James Madison and used to carve up James Madison. But I mean, at 4,800, auto play, especially against Houston.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
you don't need a lot, and he runs. We know what Josh Johnson, Tyler Huntley, all these backups have done that run over the last few weeks can do. So
yeah. And I think that he doesn't necessarily need to know the entire playbook as a rookie. I think he's had a lot of time to kind of sit back this year in that Shanahan offense. And, I think that this is going to be a great spot for him, where if he gets in trouble in pass rush, he's obviously going to use his legs. And we know he can throw the ball. He wasn't drafted that high as a runner only. He's not a Cam Newton type. If I had to compare him, he actually looks a lot like, his fellow college teammate, Carson Wentz, with a little bit more ability. I think more mobility, better arm strength. And I think that Trey Lance is in a great spot today. It kind of reminds me, I don't know how many weeks back, Mike, we were talking about it, where the pricing just kind of makes it to where you almost kind of have to play this guy in every single one of your cash or single entry lineups, just because of not only ownership, but at 4,800 on DraftKings, and then looking at it on FanDuel, 6,400. There's just so many things you can do with your lineup here. And I think you're going to want to get in some studs and some other positions. So he's obviously my top play in regards to cash. A couple other ones that we want to mention, obviously, Josh Allen for Buffalo. He looks like a great play here against the Falcons. My worry is obviously if I'm paying not nearly, I'm paying 3,200 more for Josh Allen. How many more points is he actually going to get me than Trey Lance? And I think that's definitely a concern. You could say, well, what happens if, Trey struggles or whatever it is? It's kind of one of those game theory things where you're going to be okay because he's going to be high enough owned where it's not going to make much of a difference. And he's 4,800. Back to that again. He's playing at home against a bad Texans team, so it's not like we're having to worry about a bad situation, game script wise, whatever. And on top of that, San Francisco has to win. So obviously we want to look into that as well. With that being said, outside of quarterback, if we're looking at some other plays in regards to cash, do like Dak Prescott today in addition to Josh Allen. He's 6,700 on DraftKings. He's continually not priced up, only 7,400 on FanDuel. And then I have Jalen Hurts right behind him. Both those NFC East plays, I think that both are excellent value. I think that Jalen Hurts, he's actually getting a little bit of a price decrease. I think that, these algorithms and things like that we're going by in regards to these sites, I think a lot of they're putting too much into recency bias. Maybe that could be it, but these are both talented guys. I love Matt Stafford as well. I want you to kind of comment on that because obviously he's playing against a depleted Baltimore secondary. Any of those names stand out to anybody that you're absolutely in love with today, Mike?
Well, Stafford for sure. I mean, the Ravens are so crushed in secondary. It's crazy, man. It's I've never seen anything like it. I mean, we were so deep in the beginning of the year, and then between injuries and COVID, just absolutely crushed them on the back end. And obviously, we saw what happened over the last couple of weeks. It's not earth shattering. Especially if Stafford coming off the dud. I mean, he'll probably go for fucking 400 yards.
Yeah, probably. What about the other side of that game? Is Tyler Huntley in consideration at all?
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you want to get access to Rams players, not using Stafford, but using Huntley, and then somebody like Bateman. I know the most popular situation would be using Mark Andrews, but Bateman is coming on, and Hollywood could be out. Don't know yet. I've been scouring the Twitter here to see if I get any news, but getting access to that game through Huntley and Bateman, or maybe even Sammy Watkins, honestly, at super cheap prices, can be a way to stack them up. Yeah.
I think one thing I love about the quarterback position this week, I mean, if you're not playing Lance, which is fine, at GPP, you can absolutely get weird and play kind of whoever you want. There's a lot of good plays, a lot of good open spots. I'm even looking at, Joe Burrow got underlooked, obviously, last week. Well, I would say he didn't really get underlooked. He was in a great spot. He got played. He won some people some money, which is absolutely amazing. But I think that he's still underpriced a little bit in this spot against KC, where he's going to get and essentially a negative game script. I don't know. That one could shoot out. It could, keep it close, over 50 on the implied total. So that's one to definitely target. And I believe Cincinnati's at home. So that should be a good spot to look at. And then you could also, you talked about Huntley a lot. I really do like that play, but I don't want to overlook someone like a Tom Brady here playing against the Jets. I mean, I'm not saying in cash you have to go there, but how much more secure can you be than, TB12, where he's going to come out there, put up plenty of yards, plenty of touchdowns, in a game situation. We're going to talk more about that game later on in the running back spot and, of course, maybe the wide receiver as well. But, from projection standpoint, Huntley pops along with Trey Lance, and then Mac Jones against the bad Jacksonville team is somebody that we're looking at as well. And then you could even play a Taysom Hill with his dual threat ability against the Panthers as well. Those are all guys in play, and we'll talk more about GPP as well. And, outside of that in catch, is there anything else that you want to talk about on regards to positions for quarterback?
Not for cash, but for I do love Taysom Hill this week.
Yeah, I know he's your boy. And I remember I actually kind of hinted at it. We talked about it where that 1 week where you just said I think it was Taysom Hill, where you just played him in all your lineups, just regardless, just because of the pricing and everything like that. We could see something similar.
Same situation with Lance.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at today too. I think that's where I'm going to start. And usually I don't start with quarterback, but obviously it's somebody I want to look at. But with cash, let's roll into the running back section here. We want to kind of get moving. With the running back section, I think that there is a lot of good plays. The biggest thing with running back today is that, the ownership is a little bit more spread out, which I kind of like. There are some top tier plays. If I'm looking at the cheat sheet here at YFC, and I'm going by DraftKings ownership, it looks like the top 3 plays that are over 20% are Sony Michel, Ronald Jones, and David Montgomery. And if we're looking at it from the FanDuel side, all 3 of those guys pop in the top 4, but they do have Jonathan Taylor at the top. Now, Jonathan Taylor's $10K on FanDuel. He's $9K on DraftKings. So obviously, if we're playing a Trey Lance, it makes it a lot easier to fit someone like a Jonathan Taylor in here. These other running backs are all going to be somewhat value plays. All these guys are 6,500 or below on DraftKings. Obviously, it's some guys that we want to look at here. They're all in great spots. Obviously, Ronald Jones, one of my favorites because, he gets access to that Tampa Bay offense against a bad Jets team, a really bad Jets team that gives up a lot of points, obviously. Without any Leonard Fournette, we expect Ronald Jones to be plenty active. I know last week, he was a targeted play. He didn't just go nuclear on the slate, but he's somebody that I liked a lot. And then, of course, talking about those, and I want to get your thoughts on these guys, but Sony Michel gets you good, cheap access to that Rams offense here against beat-up Baltimore secondary. Well, not secondary, but beat-up defense. And then, of course, David Montgomery is always someone who kind of is interesting against a Giants team. I think that's pretty bad. A sneaky defense, but I think that Montgomery just gets target funnels. He gets carries funneled to him in this offense. It becomes somewhat of a workhorse back. But in regards to those plays, or if you want to touch on a Singletary play, Devin Singletary from Buffalo, and then Jonathan Taylor, who I absolutely love here. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to make my main lineup. But, we want to talk about a guy that we have in KC on the other side there. But out of those guys, from an ownership standpoint, Mike, is there anybody in cash that you're staying away from? Are they all in play for you?
Well, Sony Michel is getting a ton of love, and I understand he's 5.8 and cheap across the board, but the Ravens have been extremely good against the run,
right?
Like really good, which is why everybody just passes against us. Coupled with the fact that we have nobody in the back end, but
right.
That is a risky play, if you ask me. I mean, that appears to be more certain than I think it actually is. He's going to get, probably all the backfield touches, sure, but that's cool. That's not cool if you're going to get, 45 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you brought him up first, because that kind of was a segue into a play that I really like, that you could pivot to the exact same price on DraftKings, and Darrell Williams with no Edwards-Helaire for KC in a game against Cincinnati. Cincinnati allows the most receptions to running backs. I think I bring that stat up almost every week, but I mean, it's true, right? The Bengals just allow a ton to the running back. I don't know if it's just the type of defense they play. They just don't play out on the flats very much. But Darrell Williams is in a great spot there. I actually would prefer Williams over Michel. And I think that he's going to start picking up some ownership now with Edwards-Helaire out. People are starting to build lineups, and we're going to see a lot of ownership probably funneled that way. Right now, he's not in the top 3, 4, 5 of ownership that I'm seeing, but I think he's going to start to trend that way. And I think when people start to watch this and they hear about, hey, we're going to attack the Ravens through the air, I think that makes a lot of sense here. Of course, we're saying that, and then Sony's going to get these carries on the 1 yard line, right? He's going to get 3 touchdowns today. We're kind of cursing ourselves, but tell me what you think about that pivot to Darrell Williams.
I think it makes a ton of sense. A much better, just offense in general, more consistent, especially as of late, whereas the Rams have been a little bit inconsistent outside of Cooper Kupp. It's kind of been a little bit all over the place. But, in a much better, run situation as well as receiving situation, for the running back in
Right.
For Kansas City going up against Cincinnati.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all aboard the Sony fade train. I have to mention him because he did pop in ownership, but I am absolutely on board with Williams over him today. Not saying that you're going to full fade him. I think that if you're going to GPP stack this game, the Rams and the Ravens, you have to probably consider getting parts of him. But I think a good game script would be to play Huntley and then play Michelle opposite maybe with Cup, because you could see a game where the Rams are just moving the ball, and then Sony's popping in those little short touchdowns like we talked about earlier, and you got Cup moving the change, just doing his thing. And then on the other side, you have a Huntley, which you talked about a Bateman, or I'm assuming an Andrews is going to be very in play. So it's definitely someone that we want to look at in regards to GPP, which we'll get to in a little bit. Last talk about Ronald Jones, and then, of course, Jonathan Taylor or Montgomery. I don't know if you had anything to add on them. We have some running backs that are going to be healthy today. DeAndre Swift, who I absolutely love as a player, he's going to be back in action. Austin Eckler will be back in action against the beat-up Denver defense. But is Jonathan Taylor, I mean, with our savings, if you're playing Trey Lance, is he kind of a must-play, even at $9K, or are you going to save that salary? What do you think?
I actually think there are so many good running back plays that you might not have to go that route. I mean, you certainly can. It's obvious.
Right.
He's obviously the best running back in the game at this point, at least healthy.
Right.
But there's value in dudes like Jones, Montgomery, and then Devin Singletary at 5'4". I mean, this dude's been pretty damn good. And if Zach Moss is out, I like him even more. I mean, if Zach Moss is out, I would assume his ownership will fly up. I would assume. Atlanta sucks. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that it's kind of weird. I think that they've kind of pivoted away from the Josh Allen is just going to run the ball a ton, and they're not really going to use the running backs and all that stuff. Like their offense has changed where he's relied a little bit more. It always seems like they get down there in the red zone and he's targeting these running backs, man. That's where their offense is. And these guys are the ones catching the touchdowns in the red zone. So it's definitely somebody we want to consider there. I think it's worth noting that Melvin Gordon is questionable there. I don't know with Javonte Williams. Trying to find him. He's also, I think both these guys are always questionable every week, which is super
they're both going to play. I read earlier that they're both going to play.
Right. And then you got Eli Mitchell, obviously. I mean, he's somebody, if he decides to play against the Texans, they could just say, we're going to protect Trey Lance and we're going to give Mitchell all the carries he can handle. He's somebody we have to consider as well. And then you're going to see some people that are going to gravitate, which I wouldn't recommend this, just not even being a homer, but I'm just saying that I know with Antonio Gibson being out, people are going to look at from a opportunity standpoint, maybe a Patterson here, for Washington. I think that he's absolutely somebody he's viable, but he's still 4,800 here against an Eagles team that I feel like Eagles will sell out to stop the run a lot of the times, and they get beat in the pass game. That's just kind of the way that they're very boom bust on defense. But Philadelphia absolutely needs to win this game. They actually lock up a wild card playoff spot with a win, so they're going to come out and play. So I worry a little bit about people that are wanting to play Patterson. I've had some people direct message me some lineups and had Patterson in there. I think we just kind of need to pump the brakes on him a little bit here. But I think that in regards to running back, there's a lot of good plays, like he said, and I'll let you touch on more in the GPP segment, Mike. I do want to shift over in cash to wide receiver, going on the cheat sheet as well, which our cheat sheet will be updated again, folks. If you're following along, you'll get it a couple times up until lock of all the games here. For DK, our highest ownership is going to Antonio Brown. Kind of no surprise there with Cooper Kupp right behind him. And then you get, and on FanDuel, let me see who we got at the top. It's Cooper Kupp and then CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb is more of a price play on FanDuel. He's only 7,200. Kupp is 10,200 on FanDuel, which is absolutely insane. But, I mean, he's Cooper Kupp, and he's playing Baltimore. And then you got like a Christian Kirk, a T. Higgins right below that. Tyreek Hill is also in play as well. I know Cincinnati is going to have their hands full today following him around the field. But, all right, so in regards to wide receiver, ownership wise, we talked about it. I'm seeing a Christian Kirk pop around. I'm seeing a Braxton Barrios. So there's a lot of plays here that I think that we can say, they're good plays, they're bad plays. I think Cooper Kupp is probably the no-brainer here. I think that in regards to pricing, especially on DraftKings, I would more likely pay up for a Cooper Kupp than a Jonathan Taylor. Is he kind of a lock here against your Ravens?
I think it's hard not to, man. I mean, they've been so bad, and they just go after Kupp like almost every play. So, I mean, and he runs the entire route tree, obviously. He makes dudes look stupid out there. So, Stafford, once he gets his guy, it's his guy, Calvin.
Yeah.
And then now Kupp. I mean, he's going to make sure Kupp gets these records now.
Yeah. I think that the chase for 2K is a big thing, and obviously Antonio Brown here against the Jets team. I know Antonio had a nice week this last week, obviously benefiting not having a Chris Godwin or Mike Evans in the lineup. I think Evans is questionable now, so there's a chance that he comes back. But you got to think that Antonio Brown's still going to get plenty of targets, only 6,100 on DraftKings. He's dealing with a minor ankle tweak, but if you look at his last game that he came back and the games before he left, I mean, this guy was cooking. I mean, he was over 30 points in one, over 20 in two other ones, and that was his most recent one, getting 15 targets against Carolina. He's somebody we absolutely have to consider there. I think Cooper Kupp is kind of a no-brainer. I just kind of plugged him in to see where my lineup was going to work because I'm playing Trey Lance. So I do want to see what kind of goodness I can get in regards to that. I do want to mention, though, there's a couple of games that we have to look at, and we talked a little bit about some of these guys. Let's talk about Deebo Samuel. Is he priced out of play, even if you're playing a Trey Lance? I don't think it's necessary to pair them together, but 8,700 on DraftKings. Obviously, he's somebody that we can absolutely look at. I'm trying to find his FanDuel pricing, and while I'm looking for that, what do you think about Deebo here today?
So outside of last week, his touches weren't really that high. And he was producing, right, which is great. Obviously, if you make the plays, you make the plays. But to rely on touches that are limited and for those touches to be boom outputs, I mean, it's the risky business, especially he's the highest priced receiver. I mean,
right.
I mean, I get it. I mean, they don't even have to use him. They literally could just put him on the bench and they would still be fine this week.
Yeah.
Mitchell's back. Wilson's there. Hasty's there too. Let's not forget.
Yep.
And then Ayuk has come on. Kittle's healthy. I mean, it's a lot to pay for a team that, number one, doesn't usually pass the ball that much. Probably won't have a lot of resistance on the other end, in terms of Houston putting up points. So
right,
that's tough, man. But it's certain he'll be like 2% on.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the appeal there. So he kind of falls into maybe more of a GPP territory, absolutely there. But, I was looking at just that. I think that you mentioned Brandon Ayuk there. He obviously had a great game this last time out, only on 5 targets, but he was efficient, 4 for 40 with a touchdown. He's 5,900, so he's kind of in that no man's land. And I think that, that being said, you obviously have George Kittle, some pass options here as well. But I think that, Ayuk being there, being kind of healthy, starting to round out in this offense. I'm not saying that it's going to take touches away from Deebo, but I think that there's going to be plenty of options. And we mentioned Mitchell earlier, so you're absolutely right there. So they fall into GPP territory for sure. Kind of looking at the top, I know we like Josh Allen. I know Stephon Diggs. We haven't really got a price break on him. I mean, he's 7,900, over 20 points this last time out. I think that you have to pick the right game to play him. It could be Atlanta. He could absolutely blow up. I think he's going to fall in some GPP territory here. I think that the Dallas receivers and then Arizona, Christian Kirk on that other side, that could be a sneaky shootout game. It also could be a game where everybody's going to target it and then it's just going to absolutely just fall flat on its face. But I think CeeDee Lamb, if Amari Cooper obviously is there, Michael Gallup, you're getting a price discount with him in cash. And then, of course, I want to mention one of my favorite guys, this rookie. He's amazing, but Tennessee's still bad at defending the pass. And you got Dolphins going in. You got Jalen Waddle, target monster. He knocked me out of 2 fantasy football playoffs this last week. I actually had him in one, and I was going against him in another, and I fell in that weird range where if he scores this amount of points but not this amount, I could lose both games. And it happened. That last touchdown got me in. It was great. I love it. I love falling out of playoffs. But double-digit targets this last 3 weeks. Obviously, Tua is going to focus in on him. I think no matter who you are at quarterback, you're going to focus in on a player like him. He's fast, he's quick, great route runner. Devontae Parker's good enough to be able to pull with Gesicki as well, to pull some coverage away from him. And I think he's absolutely in play here at only 6,700 on DK. But in regards to just cash, I think that we kind of hit on most of the plays here who are going to be excellent. I think that Braxton Barrios is the only one that I want to mention here. He's still 3,700 on DK going against Tampa Bay, who we know, I don't say they sell out. They're a good defense all the way around, but they definitely stop the run, and they're susceptible through the air. Do you like Barrios at all here? Did they stand a chance, the Jets, at getting him some targets?
Yeah, because they're going to be on offense most of the time because the Tampa's just going to score. So we'll have plenty of opportunities. They'll probably run a lot more plays than they have in recent weeks. So that inflates his numbers a little bit too. And, you know, I mean, 37? You don't need a lot. Yeah,
absolutely. I do want to mention, I think that one guy that I like to dig into wide receiver matchups. And you talked about if Hollywood Brown plays, he's a great price, 5,900, and he has a great matchup, in my opinion, here against that secondary. But Mike Williams is also in a great spot against Denver. I know Denver is without some weapons as well, and he's somebody I want to consider as well. So, I think that kind of rounds out wide receiver in regards to cash plays. I want to move on here to tight end. And I'm going on the cheat sheet, and I want to look at our ownership plays for DraftKings. There's nothing really high owned on tight end, which is kind of nice. I'm glad we don't have a chalky tight end value play or anything like that I have to play here. I think it kind of opens up things probably with value at other positions. My guy, Dallas Goddard, it looks like he's coming in as the Eagles' main receiving weapon here outside of Devontae Smith. He's popping in ownership on our cheat sheet. I think that there's some other really good value plays. I know Steven Anderson for the Chargers is popped up. Foster Moreau as well for the Raiders has popped up there, and Cole Kmet is somebody to kind of look at. All those plays being said, I think that on FanDuel there is a little bit better ownership. Rob Gronkowski is pretty high up there in regards to FanDuel ownership. He's only 6,700. I think if you have the salary to pay for him, obviously he's somebody to look at. Zach Ertz as well for Arizona. I think he's in a great spot here against Dallas. And I know that Kyler Murray's been going to him a lot in regards to targets. And if you're looking at an Atlanta game script where they gotta play from behind, Kyle Pitts is in play here. All that being said, I didn't mention some of the big boys in regards to price. So is there anybody that you like that's up top at tight end, or any of the guys that I mentioned, Mike?
Did you mention Ertz?
I did mention Ertz. I like him a lot. Are you a big fan this week?
Yeah. He's like the safety blanket right now for Kyler.
Yeah.
Obviously Andrews, but he's expensive. And then your punt is Steven Anderson at tight end for the Chargers. 2,500. Cook's out, Parnham's out. He's not gonna play every down. There's another dude there. Escaping me at the moment, like McGiddy or something like that. So 2,500. They do throw the tight ends. So, and he is more of a receiving tight end.
I was going to say he's kind of built like a wide receiver, right? He's like 6'3". I think he's like 6'3", like 220, 230 or something like that. He's built more like a pass catching tight end, which is nice to have. So I think that at 2,500, he gets you two or three catches without a touchdown. He's essentially returning 3x value. That's kind of what you're looking at there. Tell me about Mark Andrews. I know he's kind of popped up this last couple of weeks with some monster games. 7,400 this week against a Rams team who, if you look at it, the guy's basically averaging 30 points or more these last 3 weeks, double-digit targets. Tyler Huntley's back. When Tyler Huntley was in there, he was obviously throwing the ball to Andrews. So, should we kind of expect him just to be the target funnel there? If we have the money, obviously we want to pay for him. What do you think here?
he's definitely great and everything, but what if they put Jalen Ramsey on him? Then what?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Certainly still capable. I mean, because he's just a big body, but on top of all the other stuff that he's good at, and speed and all that. But I mean, double-digit points, yeah, he'll probably have double-digit points. Will he have 30 points? Probably not. Just law of averages. Right? He's had basically three in a row. I mean, likely not going to get there again. Could he get 20? Yeah. But it just depends on what it does with the rest of your roster. Certainly a great play, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking through these tight end plays, and I think that where I've kind of just narrowed it down to is there's a lot of good ones. I think that if you are going to pay down, you just pay down for Anderson at $2,500 if you need that. You can obviously do a lot with that. I don't think you need to, but you can. I like Goddard and Ertz at that same price range. I think Ertz is probably the better cash play just because he seems to be a little bit more consistent, getting targets. Goddard can nuke the slate. Goddard can beat every tight end on this slate because if Ertz decides to use him the right way, he's going to benefit from that. If you're looking at his last game against Washington, he caught 7 balls on 9 targets for 135, didn't even score a touchdown, scored 23.5 DraftKings points. Washington's in a really tough spot today. 5,100. I think that he's going to absolutely be somebody we want to look at there because he's a top 2 weapon for Jalen Hurts here, and they need to win. And then Zach Ertz, kind of going back to that game, what does Zach Ertz know? He knows NFC East. He was with the Eagles forever. He's playing Dallas. I think that that's something that kind of people are going to overlook is that this guy understands who he's playing against. He understands how to play in that stadium and how to play against this defense. So Ertz knows these guys. He has some insight there. So you better believe that Kyler Murray, going back into Texas where, he played a lot of his football growing up and everything like that, there's a lot of narrative that I can see that this game could really point towards Ertz having a really big game. And of course, obviously, if you want to play 2 tight ends, that's your prerogative. I would not advise it over a couple wide receivers or an extra wide receiver or running back for the safety there. But it's up to you guys, obviously, with DraftKings builds. FanDuel's a little bit different, but all these guys are all going to pop in ownership. We didn't mention Travis Kelce. He's obviously always in play. Somebody you can look at that he's going to go overlooked. Brevin Jordan's the guy that Pete and I like a lot, former Miami Hurricane player for the Texans here. They could absolutely rely on him. They started looking that guy's way. I mentioned something in the Discord chat whenever I was a little worried about him not getting snaps and getting phased out, but he actually got on the field. He's still 2,800 on DraftKings. He can be a pivot from Steven Anderson if you want to get a piece of that game. But it looks like General Davis, they call him General Mills here in Houston. I think it's weird, but they seem to like this kid. And then you got Brevin Jordan there with 4 targets this last week, 56 yards. He actually caught a really long one. They got called back for a holding penalty. But he can absolutely be somebody. He's athletic and he's good there too. So, that's our tight end section, guys. We're going to cover real quick defense and then move on to GPP. Defense, is there anybody that you're loving here in regards to, I don't know, price play? I think that you're going to have all the salary in the world probably when it comes down to it. Who are you liking at defense today? And I guess, you can kind of give me a little bit of your GPP knowledge in regards to this, but defense is kind of boom bust. We don't rely on that. So that's our disclaimer here at YFC, that you cannot play your lineup dependent on playing a certain defense. It will always burn you in the end usually. So what are you thinking about defense, Mike?
Well, Bears will beat the chalk, most likely. Obviously, just going up against a total disaster in the Giants team. That makes all the sense in the world. Obviously the Patriots are great, but you got to pay for them along with the Bucks. I actually really like the Cowboys.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been
people are paying,
touchdowns.
Right. They're playing Kyler Murray and all this nonsense, blah, 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 high total. Doesn't really make a difference because if you just to even take a gander at their game logs, even if they give up points, it doesn't make a difference. They're very opportunistic. They have Micah Parsons, who just sacks the quarterback at least once a game. They have Trayvon Diggs, who gets a pick every other game.
Yep.
Those are the types of things that you want. You want defenses that are playing against teams that have to pass a lot. So if you have to pass a lot, you're going to get opportunities for sacks, strip sacks, all that kind of stuff. And then also interceptions, which, can lead to touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, one of the things that I think it's a very old school thing to do in DFS, which you don't have to do it anymore. But a lot of people coming up a long time ago when I started playing was they always wanted to correlate their defense with their running back, just because they felt that game script made a lot of sense if you have a good defense. But really, it's such a boom bust position. I would not be surprised if later on down the line they offered some non-defense type of slates. They're going to have your classic and then they're going to put something in like no defense when they phased out kickers. I can see that happening. I think it's kind of cool to have defense because it can save your ass or it can kill you. I've had a really good line in a lot of GPPs before, and my defense would score me the normal 3 to 5 points, and then some asshole played Miami that week and they wound up scoring a defensive touchdown and then scored 15 points or something, and they won a GPP because of that. But that's kind of the way it is. I feel like it's a very defensive, like I said, you can pay up. Obviously the Bucs are going to be beating the hell out of the Jets here today. You talked about Dallas. That's a great call there. Eagles against Washington, obviously that they can be very aggressive in regards to how they play. I think that the Bears is probably the best mid-tier pay down there against, like you said, they're at home. And I'm not sure exactly what the weather looks like, and I'll have to kind of pull that up here. But I do know, they're not exactly a team that you can just pick on in regard. The Bears have been built defensively. They have a lot of great pass rushers still. I think that that's going to be something that's going to be viable there. And like you said, they're just kind of is it still Mike Glennon at quarterback, or is Daniel Jones back? We haven't even talked about this.
No, I think it's from, which is,
oh God,
he's the most god awful quarterback. I've hated this dude since the stupid show that he was on. This dude sucks. And it was very apparent last week how bad he was. I didn't think throw for 100 yards. Garbage.
Absolutely. He's not very good. He wasn't very good in high school. I felt like he was a game manager in high school. Yeah. And I was like, why is this guy on here? And he was on the same season as, was it Fields that he was on it with? I can't remember. It was a long time ago. But they said that the temperature is around 20 degrees, which the Giants are used to that, but 10 to 15 mile per hour wind, the guy already can't throw the ball. So I think he's going to struggle there. And then, we mentioned some other games earlier, so let me just kind of cover them real quick. Atlanta, Buffalo is going to get some snow. It doesn't look like it's going to be crazy, but like I said, right now there's some flurries, so they could be playing in the snow today in Buffalo. Miami and Tennessee, it looks like cold rain. I don't know if it's going to be sleet, but it's going to be tough. And that environment is actually a lot tougher than the snow whenever it's that cold, wet, nasty stuff, because everything gets slippery. At least if it's snowing most of the time, everything's frozen. So you can kind of manage it. But when it's like kind of nasty, muddy, that game could get interesting. So it could affect some of the offenses there. Detroit and Seattle, there's going to be some rain there, a little bit of breeze. Well, 15 mile per hour wind, that's a little bit more than a breeze. And then in Green Bay, that's I think later on, but 5-degree temperatures there, so it's going to be freezing. So, I think that pretty much covers it. I want to kind of stroll in, and we've covered some GPP, but Mike, talk us through what you're looking at in regards to stacks, games, and while you're doing that, I'll kind of dig through and see if there's anything that I love.
Yeah, man. So the first one I have, no surprise, I already talked about it a little bit, just the Rams and Ravens game. Tyler Huntley, he'll run. This dude has been groomed to be a Lamar clone. He's gonna target his tight end, but he does have a good rapport with Rashad Bateman. So I really like pairing up those two in a game that should be, somewhat back and forth.
Right.
At the bare minimum, you're going to have the Ravens on offense a lot because the Rams are going to be able to score. So using Cooper Kupp, and then I'm definitely using Cooper Kupp. And I think if you want to use another receiver there and don't want to use Sony Michel, that you can use Van Jefferson, just because just think about those two, Kupp and Jefferson, as Devontae Adams and MVS. Very, very, very similar. And they run kind of like the same kind of routes, both of those, Adams and Cup, and then you have MVS and Van Jefferson. The Ravens are very bad at the deep ball, very, very, very bad. So that's where you see these, moonshots to Van Jefferson over the last few weeks. So all four of those guys, Bateman, Huntley, Jefferson, and Cup, I think are your best bets to go to shootout potential and high scores. So that's number one.
Okay.
And then my second one was the Chiefs and Bengals. So you can do this a ton of different ways, right? So you can use Mahomes and Hill, or Mahomes and Kelsey, or both. You have to get creative if you do that. Or you can use Darrell Williams and Hill, which is probably my favorite.
Right.
And then I like Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon. We know the Chiefs are bad against the run on purpose. And, you would have to think that you want to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, right? So by doing that, you got to slow the clock down, churn and burn it. And by using Mixon, that's a great way. Mixon's a great play. I mean, he gets the majority of the touches. He is a workhorse back. He's one of the best backs in the league. And then the Chiefs have done a tremendous job at limiting fantasy points to outside receivers. Where they give it up is in the middle. So Tyler Boyd is in a great spot this week to take advantage of over the middle, and all of the play action that goes along with that. And then we've already talked about Darrell Williams, how good of a play he is, and then Tyreek Hill. I mean, yes, he had COVID, and apparently he's unvaccinated because it kind of rocked him, and that's why he didn't really play that much last week. So hopefully, not everybody is up to tune with that. I don't know. I don't think everybody is, because I don't hear. There's some people that I hear say some of that, but not a lot. In a high total, right? It's not that's blatantly obvious, but just getting different as to how you approach the players within this game will make your lineups different, even though this is technically a popular game.
Right. Yeah, I really like that. I mean, that's a good call in regards to just targeting Boyd over a much more popular Higgins and Chase. I think that Boyd has showed up in the last couple of weeks, obviously, in regards to just, you see the guy getting catches and he's getting targets. And it's like, I remember whenever he came out, he was the guy. Like there was no Higgins, there was no Chase. He was the guy that was kind of like, he's going to bring them into the future. And the AJ Green was still around, but obviously double-digit DraftKings points in regards to the last 4 weeks here. Only 5 targets, but we could see his ADOT is extremely high. That his average depth of target for you guys not following along. But so we see that, he's going to attack that middle, attack that seam. They don't really use they don't have a pass catching tight end like, Uzoma, however you pronounce his name. He's not exactly a guy that's going to stretch the seam. Boyd's going to be somebody in the middle. I love that call, man. I think that's great there. And we talked about a little bit about the beginning of the game of, where it could be a Joe Burrow is going to go under-owned again and just have a great game there. So you can definitely stack that one up a lot of different ways.
The one thing I will say is about this game, the Chiefs defense is actually a really good play if you're not stacking this game, because Joe Burrow's on his high horse after lighting up the Ravens last week, blah blah blah, got all the media attention, blah blah blah, talk shit after the game too.
He's a cocky motherfucker.
So this is a typical letdown spot for the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals love to bangle, and this is one of those where they could see a very just straight up ass whooping. And Chiefs defense has been way better in the second half of the year. So I think that's a really good play for GPPs as well.
Yeah, I will say that you're right. Just looking at their last couple of games, like obviously they've done extremely well. And if there's ever a spot to kind of say, hey, you know what, we're still the class of the AFC, it's going to be this one. No Edwards-Helaire here. Darrell Williams is going to – I think that these backup running backs, they thrive on the opportunity for KC. They always seem to come through really well. But you could see a Patrick Mahomes just light them up scenario here. Cincinnati, they may struggle. I don't know. That's why I think Tyreek Hill is going to be very much in play here today. So, yeah, I really like that call. And it's funny because I saw the Joe Burrow post-game stuff, and they were talking about it on social media, on Twitter all week about how cocky this dude is, and he had this big week and everything. But the Chiefs are going to definitely put it to him, and they're going to test him here today. So it should be interesting, man. I have one that I want to ask you about, and I just kind of tell me what your thoughts are. But I'm not going to say it's necessarily sneaky or anything, but I think it's a game that it's going to go a little bit overlooked. But I do really like this Colts Vegas game. I don't know why, but
yes, I do
feel
too,
like,
actually.
Yeah, it's actually like, I think that them being in a dome, obviously, both these teams we know can definitely put up, points. I think that, there's the news of Carson Wentz that he could miss, but it looks like he's cleared everything. So he should be activated and ready to roll. So that's good. So we shouldn't have to worry about Ellinger playing, which I wouldn't mind. I'm a big Sam fan. I'm a UT guy. So, but you have Jonathan Taylor in this game. But on the other side, I think that Josh Jacobs could get overlooked. Naeem Hines is always big to steal some touchdowns as well. But you got Hunter Renfrow, the target machine there. You got, Foster Moreau is kind of like starting to move up in price, but we know he's going to be plenty involved. Jack Doyle on the other side with the, Mo Alley Cox. Any of these guys could definitely kind of pop. And then, Michael Pittman. I just like this game. I think that it's going to go so underowned. Nobody's going to be really looking at it. When I was looking at it from an odds standpoint, I was like, okay, do I really feel like the Raiders are going to be 8-point dogs here in a dome? No, I really don't. But if Indianapolis is implied to score 27, I mean, this should be a really good game. And I think it could go over. I think it could be a game to target. I could be completely wrong here. I don't know. But I think that I like the game a lot. And when we have some weather in some other games, and we're not really talking about the dome game, I think that's something to mention.
No, I'm with you, dude. And if you do that, I just wouldn't do Pittman and Taylor together. They're very
they don't
correlated.
Exactly.
So using some of the other receivers that they have there is a good bet. Or if you just want to use Jonathan Taylor and then use some Raiders, I think is a good way to do it too.
Yeah, and I think T.Y. Hilton had a little bit of resurgence this last week. He caught a touchdown, 4 catches for 51. So maybe we could see some T.Y. Hilton action or even drop down to some of these guys like Doolin or Pascal. You never know how it could play out. So it's absolutely a game that I like to target there. Anything else on these other games in regards to GPP?
No, I mean, I think that's it. A lot of low totals, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So going in our top plays, we want to just kind of cover that based off of what myself and then Mike decided to talk about. Obviously, there's a lot of ways to go here. We talked about some good chalk plays at quarterback. Obviously, Trey Lance is kind of the top consensus. We feel like value ownership play. There's a lot of good quarterback plays here, especially whenever there's not this just smash spot. So you can actually play, look at, I know Stafford is popular. I know Mike likes him here against the Ravens. Josh Allen is someone that the industry kind of likes against a bad Atlanta defense, and they're playing at home in the snow. That's kind of the recipe for a Josh Allen ceiling game here. Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrows on either side of that game is a great play. Tom Brady is obviously a goat there. He could do well. And we talked about Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts. There's a lot of top plays there, but I will say Trey Lance is kind of the way you're going to go, or you're going to pay up for a Stafford or Allen. Those are probably the top 3 consensus favorites from us. Or you can play for GPP. We talked about Huntley. We talked about some of these other cats and some of these other GPP games. Taysom Hill kind of stood out to me as well. But from running back, there's a lot of great plays. Obviously, if you want to pay up for Jonathan Taylor, he's somebody to absolutely consider. He's a great pay up, a lot of salary that's going to be involved there. However, there's a lot of good plays in regards to value. We talked about the Sony Michel situation. He's getting a lot of ownership, but personally myself and Miz as well, I think we're going to go towards Darrell Williams for the same price for KC. You're not saying you can't play Michel. That's your decision. But obviously I'm going to go with the Ravens guy here. And if he feels that, I feel it too. Ronald Jones is a great play here. He's somebody I'll probably have in my main lineup. David Montgomery's in play. Devin Singletary, obviously the Buffalo running backs are underpriced. They're in a great spot today. And we talked about that weather. It could be big for Singletary. He could get a lot of carries, somebody to consider there. Or you could obviously look at some of these pay up guys. You have your Ecklers out there. We have Joe Mixon, who we talked about more in GPP. And then, of course, Eli Mitchell for the 49ers, who's going to be somebody who's going to be popular. We didn't talk about Alvin Kamara. You can obviously play him. He's a do-it-all guy. I don't know. I think outside of GPP, he's probably not going to be in a lot of cash lineups. Wide receiver, top plays here. Cooper Kupp obviously comes at the top of the board for us in regards to just ownership and, of course, ceiling, floor. He just kind of does it all. I think he's going to be a lock play as our top plays. We have Antonio Brown, obviously, getting some ownership love. But I think wide receiver is going to be a little bit more spread out today. We talked about value plays like Braxton Barrios. We talked about some pay-up guys, Tyreek Hill. Tyler Boyd is somebody who Miz really likes as somebody to look at, as well as more of a mid-range or value play. Of course, I like Jalen Waddle. You can play the Dallas receivers or Christian Kirk. I think it's going to be more of a dart throw in that game to hit the right one. That's the one thing I worry about with those guys. And then, of course, you can always look at Chargers against a bad Denver team. And so going there from tight end, our top plays there, Zach Ertz is kind of our favorite mid-range value cash play. We definitely love Andrews if he had the salary, but we're worried about Jalen Ramsey being on him. Obviously, Rob Gronkowski can absolutely cook today against the bad Jets team. Kelsey's always in play and every time. Or you could pay down. We have we talked about Dallas Goddard, who's a great ownership play, good ceiling, decent floor, probably a little bit lower floor than a Zach Ertz at the same price. Or you can go down Foster Moreau's 3,800 on DraftKings, or pay for a Steven Anderson at min price for the Chargers without a Jared Cook. And then, of course, at the very end, defense obviously is, play what you want. There's not a lot of, ownership that we're worried about. We love the Bears in regards to that mid-range play against a bad Jake Fromm quarterback play for the Giants. And then, of course, the Bears are at home. You could pay up for a Bucs team or like an Eagles or a Bills. A Bills defense, actually, we didn't talk about them too much. If it's in the snow, Mike, it might be a really good Bills defensive play day. It could be. And then, of course, value plays. You can obviously pay down. Chiefs were mentioned by Mike. I actually really like that if the Bengals are going to have a letdown spot. Or you can play someone. I actually have in one of my lineups, I have the Dolphins slotted in here against Tennessee at home. I know that's a weird play, but I kind of like that game environment.
Yeah.
If you feel like it's going to be nasty, muddy, sleety, like snow, like these guys can absolutely came in. They had 8 sacks against New Orleans, 6 sacks against the Jets. I know New Orleans, obviously, that was a tough game script there as well, but they only allowed 3 points there. But I don't know. I definitely like the Dolphins here a lot. They're a team that's trying to win as well. But, yeah, I think that kind of covers it in regards to top plays, Mike. We want to move in over to PrizePicks. I know that we talked about, some picks during the week. I would love to be able to give some picks here on air that I like and then that you like as well. Maybe we can get a little flex play action. Who are some favorite picks that you like in regards to PrizePicks right now?
So receiving yards, I think those are ones where you can really find some good value. I like Van Jefferson over 42.5. I like Zay Jones over 37.5.
Yeah.
I like Devin Singletary over 14.5. I could go on, but what do you got?
Yeah. No. I mean, I like to target a lot of first half stuff, but in regards to just the whole slate, I think that rush yards, Ronald Jones is at 69.5 right now. I just kind of think that game script just dependent is going to really put them in a situation where they're going to want to run the ball. And I like Devin Singletary as well on a rush yard standpoint. I think both those guys, looking at the over, is great. I was looking at the fantasy score one. I think fantasy score can kind of be a little weird, a little tricky because you kind of have to hit the nail on the head. But I was looking at Tyler Boyd there was only at 11. You really kind of put me on him here. 11 points with PPR scoring is not very hard to do. If this guy's going to come in and catch 4 or 5 passes, he's going to go over pretty quick, and that's without a touchdown there. From the touchdowns prop, I really do not like to rely on touchdowns. I think that the variance can be very, very high, but this just kind of seems like a game where Ezekiel Elliott, and I mentioned this in our PrizePicks room as well, where he's going to score a touchdown. I can't stand this guy as an Eagles fan, but he's in that touchdown mood. I think that if you look at his last couple of games, he's kind of started to trend up a little bit. His price is starting to creep up, but he scored a rushing and receiving touchdown last game, a rushing touchdown the game before that. So he's trending in the right direction here. I think that Dallas realizes that when they get down low, like they love Tony Pollard, but Zeke's still the goal line guy. As of now, he only needs 1 touchdown. He could do it through the air or on the ground in a game script where I think that the offenses are going to be relied on. Dallas is trying to get some position in regards to the playoffs. They've clinched the division, but he should still be used here. And then I was looking at the reception touchdowns as well. I don't know why, but it has Antonio Brown on here at half, 0.5. I'm not sure we're going to see a touchdown out of the guy. I don't think you want to play that one way or the other, but it kind of seems like going the under there. But I was trying to see if I could target some unders here, and I was looking at pass completions I was looking at our guy Taysom Hill against Carolina here. 17 pass completions. Do you think he can go over that? I know that's a weird line, but it's only 17. Is he going to throw enough for that?
That's the problem. Like, I don't know if he even have a chance to do that. He's only
once, right? Yeah, he's only done it once. So
they should be able to run all over him too. So
yeah, that's true.
Probably under. But it's close.
Yeah,
close.
That's what I was kind of thinking too. I'm like, he's only done it one time, and he's kind of in this weird game script. But Carolina, they're not just going to roll over and let this guy just throw. So I think that, and even whenever he does throw, he's not very accurate. So
Right.
that was kind of one that stood out there. But yeah, my last one here, I definitely think that Joe Burrow is going to throw an interception today. They have him at 0.5. It just seems like he's going to throw at least one, right? He's going to try to he's cocky. He's going to try to sling it. So I love playing the over on his 0.5 interceptions. So guys, those are a lot of plays you can mix and match there. Be sure to check us out, yourfooterschoice.com. You can sign up with code YFC at PrizePicks, one of our proud partners, along with PointsBet. You're going to be able to see some news that's going to come up. Please join our Discord as well. We're right at an hour, Mike. I appreciate you joining me, man. Thank you very much as well to our producer, Mickey. Good luck today, week 17. Any last thoughts, Mike? Or are you ready to roll?
That's it, man. Just be on the lookout for news. Like, we got to see if Zach Moss is going to play. Emmanuel Sanders is not going to play, so that makes Gabriel Davis a better play. Although he did have COVID and was unvaccinated, so just be careful if you're going to use him, because these guys that are coming off saying they're getting their shit kicked in. While having COVID. So just be on the lookout.
All right, guys. I love it, man. All right, guys. Thank you. Good luck today. And be sure to ask questions. Tag us. You see our handles right below us, guys. Thank you as much as to everyone. And have a happy New Year, guys. We're out. All right. Good work, guys. Thanks.